Okay, so tonight we are continuing with the teachings of the Ma'or Parshat Tavo. And tonight's Torah talks about an interesting idea. It talks about the concept of sharing Torah to the outside world. Okay, sharing Torah to non-Jews specifically in the case of the Parsha, and in general, like, are there people that these people are really hopeless? Are there people that don't bother with them? Okay, we're going to talk about some interesting ideas. We're going to talk about the concept of non-Jews in the first place, and we're going to talk about when it's appropriate to add on the Torah and when it's appropriate to just let things be. Okay, like sometimes more is less. Sometimes when people add on to the Torah, so it actually causes us to lose focus, and it can actually be detrimental to the message that's really meant to be brought out. So he starts with the Gemara in Sota. The Gemara says that it's talking about something at the end of this week's parsha, the end of the Parshat Tavo. So it says that there's a mitzvah that when you come into Israel, so you should go on to Hagarizim and Ha'eva, and you should have this whole ceremony that you give curses and you give blessings, and we're telling the Jewish people that now you're in Israel, now you have to make sure that you're going to follow in Hashem's path. But before we cross the Jordan River, so it says an interesting mitzvah that you should take these rocks and you should write the Torah on the rocks. Hello. You should write the Torah down on the rocks, and you should put lime on top of the rocks. And so what's the purpose of this? It says Ba'er Hetev. You should write the Torah Ba'er Hetev. That Rashi says that means in 70 different languages. Okay? You're supposed to write the Torah in 70 different languages. Who is this for? This is presumably for the world. This is for anybody, any language, wherever you're coming from. So you'll be able to come before you come to Israel, and you should know about what the rules of the Jews are. Okay? So now there's an interesting, if you look at the way that the Torah describes this process of writing the Torah in 70 languages, which is presumably for the purpose of the non-Jews. So the simple wording of the pasuk would imply that you first write it on the stone, and then you put lime on top of that. Okay, so that's actually the opinion. That's actually the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, hello. So that's actually the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that when we're writing down the Torah, so the proper way to write down the Torah is to first write it on the stones and then cover the stone with the writing in lime. So Rabbi Shimon asked Rabbi Yehuda, if that's the way you're supposed to do it, so how are the non-Jews ever supposed to understand? How are they supposed to read it? How are they ever going to read it? It's covered in lime. So he says, Amalo bina yaser nasan kishpacha bo masa'elam v'shigru notiron shelahem v'kafu asased v'hesiyuah. So he says that the truth is that the non-Jews, they had this inspiration. They had this interesting inspiration that they sent their scribes, they sent their wise men to Israel. They heard that there might be some special stones, and they sent them. And what did they do? That the scribes, kalfu as I said, the archaeologists, they're scraping down the line and then reading what it says. Okay, Rabbi Shimon disagrees. Rabbi Shimon says that no, that makes no sense, because if you want them, if it's for them, so you should make it that it's accessible. So he says first they put the lime, and only on the lime did they write it. Okay, so now the Gemara says a fascinating thing. Let's see if it's quoted here. No, it's not. So it's in the original Gemara. It says a fascinating thing that according to Rabbi Yehuda, so they would actually send their scribes, they would actually send their archaeologists to figure out what's the deal with this Jewish Torah, and they did, and the Gemara says V'al zeh nechtem dinam, and because of this, their judgment was sealed, because they sent their scribes, they sent their wise men to figure it out, and they did, and they figured it out, and they read it, and they went back, and they ignored it. And they said, that's so disgusting, that's so weird, that's so archaic, that's so primitive, that's so Jewish. And they did the opposite, and they ignored the Torah, and because of that, so they were destined to be destroyed. Okay, this is we're talking about the members of the 7 nations that were living outside of Israel, whatever. So Rabbi Yehuda's approach is that the Torah was not meant for the non-Jews, and even though that there's this whole mitzvah to put the Torah on display for the non-Jews, it's really supposed to be covered, and even though they were able to uncover it, that actually was to their detriment, because now that they knew the truth, now they're held accountable for not following the truth that now they know. Okay, this is a statement this is an opinion that's expressed elsewhere in the Gemara as well. That it says that a non-Jew is held accountable for the fact that they didn't learn Torah. Okay, that why didn't you look up? Why didn't you look up one day, like what the Jews do, and find out what true morality is and what true kindness is, and like how did you stay so messed up that you should have looked up what's a more moral approach to life, and they're held accountable for not. Okay, so the what?
They don't know that a Jew exists. Like half the time, it was like you're the first Jew I ever met.
Okay, so if if that's really true, like I think that's only in Alabama, like in the normal non-Jews, like New Yorkers. I'm joking. like in a, but no, in Echad, you're 100% right. That if they don't know what a Jew is, then I mean they've heard of, like the truth is that they've heard of Christianity. So they probably heard that Christianity is based on Judaism. So it could be that they're held accountable in that sense, even though they never heard of Jews. Like Jesus was a Jew, you know.
What about someone who really like Papua New Guinea, like has never no exposure to the outside world?
You're saying Papua New Guinea because they just opened Israeli embassy.
Really?
Yeah, I just read about this.
Like there's places that like Easter Island, whatever. Like there's places where they have.
I had a student that was converting to Judaism from Papua New Guinea.
Oh, wow.
That her father was a Christian missionary in Papua New Guinea. And she came because her father was so into Christianity. That's why she realized how messed up it is, and that's how she.
Okay, let's say 500 years ago, there were some societies that were really like totally untouched.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not clear. It seems like it would appear that if you don't have exposure, then you're exempt, and the point is more that if you could have known, then you're expected to know. If you couldn't have known, then you're not expected to know. Okay, like we have the same concept by Jews. The Jew that's brought up completely secular and has no opportunity to know about Judaism, so he's also not held accountable. Like it's the same. So the same thing is certainly applicable to non-Jews as well. So the question is like how should we understand what is the point of putting this Torah according to Rabbi Yehuda, that we actually cover it up, and the entire existence of the Torah for the non-Jews is actually going to mess them up. So what's the point? Okay, so he starts by explaining that where do converts come from, and where do non-Jews come from, and what's the purpose of non-Jews? What's the purpose of non-Jews? You know, this is interesting. Like people find this offensive sometimes when I say that the Ramchal says that that the whole thing about non-Jews, non-Jews was just a mistake. They weren't supposed to be non-Jews. It was really a glitch in the system, because really the entire humanity was supposed to be Adam and Chava, and Adam and Chava had the level of spirituality of a Jew, and if they would have stayed at their level, there would have been no such thing. There would have been no such thing as a non-Jew. It's just what happened that they fell, that they sinned, and because they sinned, so they were no longer at the level of spirituality of a Jew. So the level of their soul dropped tremendously, and then it was their job to try to work their way back. And so Hashem said that, okay, I'm going to give mankind a certain amount of time, specifically 20 generations, to work yourself back, to be able to get yourself back to the level that you were supposed to be. And after that, it's too late. So at the point of 20 generations, there was only one human being that actually was able to work on himself to reach the spiritual height of Adam and Eve before the sin, and that was Abraham. So at that point, so Hashem said, okay, that's it. That time's up. And whoever made it is in, whoever didn't make it is out. And from that moment, so only Abraham was destined to continue the plan, the original plan that Hashem had from Abraham. So from that moment, only Abraham was destined to continue the original plan of mankind, of creation. So he continues at that point that really Hashem had two options, that he had everybody else. And so he could have either just said, okay, everybody's going to die, or to find some alternative plan for them, to find some alternative mission for them. And so he decided with the latter. He decided it was more compassionate not to destroy them, just because they didn't make it to the greatest success doesn't mean that they don't have to exist. So he made a new reason for them to exist. Okay, and that's where non-Jews come from. Okay, that's where non-Jews come from. So that if everything would have gone according to the plan, then Adam and Eve wouldn't have sinned, and everybody would have there would be no such thing as a non-Jew. Everybody would have been at the spiritual level of Jews, but only because they sinned did all the non-Jews in the world come to be. Okay. And so now there's an interesting Gemara, and this is a very important idea, because it's I teach converts like in a program, and I know that, like, from my experience with them, that there's a very big difference between the way that we treat converts in Israel and the way that converts are treated almost anywhere else, maybe with the exception of New York. Happens to be that in New York, it's a very good friend of mine, Rabbi Tzvi Ram, that we went to school together, and he's a great guy. But every other Bezdin that I've heard of, it's very, very, what's the word? They put them through hell. In some countries, it even takes 5 to 7 years to convert. They're very looking down on them, condescending, and they don't care about them. And it's very and I can tell that their mentality is that I don't owe you anything. I'm doing you a favor. Helping you convert. Who do you think you are? You're just a guy. I can tell that's the whole mentality of these other Bezdins. Whereas in Israel, it's not like that. And we're actually nice. We're actually accepting, and we're actually proud of them, and we're actually supportive of them. And so the truth is that these two approaches is actually, you could say they're both coming from the same place. It's just some of them misunderstand and some of them do understand correctly. That because it says in the Gemara that it says based on the Psukim in Megillas Ros, that it says that when a person comes to convert, you're supposed to discourage them. You're supposed to push them away. You're supposed to push them away 3 times. Okay, so some people understood from that the truth is that we don't want converts. Okay, but the truth is that that's not the case. In fact, that there's a Gemara that says that the entire reason why Hashem put us into exile is in order that we should attract converts. So there's actually a necessity. The entire reason why that the Jews went, like, that part of the experience of going into exile by destruction of the Second Temple was to go into the four corners of the world, is because Hashem knew that there's actually souls out there in every country, in every society, that are actually meant to be part of the Jewish people, and we need to find them. So how are we supposed to find them? So the only way that we're going to find them is if they're exposed to Judaism, and by the fact that they're exposed to Judaism, then they're going to hear it. Then they're going to. I have had students that, when I asked them, like, how did you hear about us? Like, they said, like, I don't know, I found you online. It's like for people from like the Philippines or from like Thailand. No, to Thailand there's lots of Jews, but like I don't know, from Japan, like from very obscure places. They just, like, I don't know, they just found Jews online, and that's how they started getting interested. I once had this communication with a person in Iran, an Arab, a Muslim guy that was interested in converting. It wasn't possible at the time. I don't know what happened to him now, but like at the time, it was, if he would have converted, they would have killed him. So it's all timing, yeah. So yeah, I hope that he escaped and made it to America or whatever. So right, but if they would find out that he's moving here, they might have killed him just for that. So the Gemara says that really that the whole reason why the Jews went into exile is only because we need these non-Jews, we need these converts, and it's actually like a completion. It's actually bringing humanity into a full circle when we have these converts. So it's actually an important part for us that whether we as Jews or mankind at large need these converts. So it actually, like, there's no reason to discourage them. There's no reason to be mean to them. That as much as they need us, we need them. You know. So this is the Marinayim. So he writes a very fascinating thing. So, and that is that what really justifies, what is the life source of the redeeming factor of all the non-Jews in the world, of all these Chinese people, all these Africans. So, you know what's actually the redeeming factor that gives them that justifies their existence? What justifies their existence is actually the fact that there are these lost souls among them that are actually meant to come to Judaism. Okay, so like, together with the fact that they have their secondary meaning of life, which is to keep the seven mitzvahs of the seven Noach laws, really what's giving them, what's justifying their existence is really the fact that they're guarding these souls, which are really meant to join to the chosen nation. Okay, so he says like this, that when Adam and Eve's soul, when it fell, so it broke into many pieces, and then from these broken pieces, so like from his posterity, so you have these little, like, individual people that have pieces of a soul that actually was meant for more. Okay, meaning that you have, like, if you think about it, like in like genetics, it's like a recessive gene. Okay, so you have these recessive genes in the DNA of Adam Harishon that are really meant to be at the top, and just they're not expressed because they actually his state of mind was actually dropped, and so but it's this recessive genes that scattered around the world that are actually meant to be close to Hashem, but they're in a reality that they're not. Okay. So now he explains. It says an interesting thing in the Gemara. It says that when Mashiach comes, then there's no more converts. When Mashiach comes, there's no more converts. Why? Because we assume that they're only converting because they like that we're powerful. because when Mashiach comes, then we're going to be the top of the world, right? This is like I've said many times that the protocols was right. We are what's the word? Planning. We are scheming to take over the world. With Kedusha, okay, and we are going to. We're not going to be mean. We're going to be nice to everybody. But the truth is that we are going to control the world. Okay, we actually do control the world. But and at that moment that we actually control the world, so then it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to be a Jew. I actually had this like not long ago, like a year ago. I had a student that, she was so dumb that she said this to the Bezdin, that like they asked her, why do you want to convert? And she said, I don't remember what country she's from. She said, I don't know, in my community, so like the Jews are like our higher level of society, so that's why I want to be Jewish. It's like, that's a bad reason to be Jewish. Like if I would have been the judge, I would have said, so you are. That's like the appropriate reason to become Jewish is because you're supposed to say that because I want to come close to Hashem, and that's because I want to be cool. So the Gemara says that when Mashiach comes, so then it's going to be really cool to be Jewish. So at that point, if you want to be Jewish, we're going to say, no, you don't really want to be close to Hashem, you just want to be cool, so that's why you can't be Jewish, right? So he says that, but you know what it really means? It really means that all the people, that their souls were really meant to be close to Hashem, so by the time Mashiach comes, so they already made it. Because the only way for Mashiach to come is if we've done all of our work, or we've collected all of the Kedusha from all the four corners of the world. At that point, so all the work is done. So at that point, so all the non-Jews are actually Goyish. Like actually all of the good sparks have already made it. All of those, it's like the more that you meet converts, it's a really fascinating thing. Like they consistently say that they feel that they have Jewish souls. They feel like it's their destiny. It's like their calling. It's a very fascinating thing. That like they really feel Jewish to the point like some of them like this is wrong, but like some of them like are offended if you ask them to help you like the electric fell on Shabbos and you need somebody to help you. So like some of them they won't help you because like how dare you ask me? You think I'm less Jewish than you? Yes, you're less Jewish than me. You're not. but it's because they really feel Jewish, right? So by the time the Mashiach comes, so all of those quote unquote Jewish souls that were really supposed to come back, so they've already come back. So the ones who are left are the ones who are really not supposed to be. Okay. So that's why we don't accept non-Jews, because at that point, the ones who are on the outside are really supposed to be on the outside. Okay? So now he explains like this, that the only way that it's possible to really come to Kedusha is only if you have it on the inside that you're supposed to be, that you have this deep connection, that you have this that your soul is actually connected from a deep level, because really the source of your soul is really from the sparks from Adam Rishon that really fell. But if you're on the outside, so then you really you don't have this connection. If you're really on the outside, so your entire existence is an existence of a lie. Okay? Now, these are his words. These words are that Mishu b'gvul ha'kedusha, someone who's on the outside, hu b'chinas hasheker v'haklipos. They are the untruth of the world. Okay, so this is reminiscent of something that it says in Tanya. It says in Tanya. It's a passage in the Tanya. It's an interesting thing. It's a passage at the end of the first paragraph of Tanya that whenever I'm learning this with people new to Judaism, I love learning Tanya. I love teaching Tanya, but when I learn this with people who are just new to Jewish concepts, I skip this. I skip this piece at the end of the first chapter. I work it out like that. We finish one session towards the end of the first chapter, and then next time we just let's skip to the next chapter, but what's it say at the end of the first chapter? It says that that it's very anti-Goyish, very anti-non-Jews. Sounds like very racist. He writes that when non-Jews do mitzvahs, it's only to make them feel good. When a non-Jew does kindness, it's really a sin, because he's really doing it for his ego. There's no concept of a good Gentile. Okay, that's what he writes. Okay, so I always I first of all say, this is his opinion, you don't have to agree with this, whatever, if it ever comes up. And besides the fact that they have to understand that he was working, he's living in a time that's a lot of pogroms, a lot of the non-Jews that he knew were actually very, very anti-Semitic and very horrible and very bloodthirsty, and etc. But somebody once, a convert actually, who became Chabad, so he actually told me that he actually likes this line in the Tanya. And he explained that if you don't have a God, so the only reason why you would be good is only because it makes you feel good. The concept of doing kindness for the sake of kindness, the concept of doing kindness because it's really the right thing to do, that assumes that you have a higher power. So he was talking about himself before he found Hashem. So he wasn't a bad person, but when he would do things, it was only because that's what made him feel good. It was just I need to feel satisfied, and what makes me feel satisfied is to help this person in need. But it's all about me. But to sacrifice my own comfort for the sake of somebody else, for that you need a God. For that you need a higher power that you're serving. Okay, and that's so we're talking about a person who's on the outside, a person who's a real full-fledged guy. Okay. What does it mean to be a full-fledged guy? It means that you're on the outside. It means that that you have no concept of worshiping a higher power. Okay? Like Avodah Zarah, for example. This is one of the things about Avodah Zarah, that idolatry is very self-centered. Idolatry, when you're the concept of serving idols is not serving a higher power. The concept of serving idols is that I have needs, so I'm going to do whatever rain dance you need, whatever human sacrifice you need, whatever I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get what I want. But it's not that I am serving you; it's that you are serving me. Okay, that's the concept of paganism, is that how can I manipulate the higher powers to get what I want? And the essence of serving God, the essence of monotheism, is that God's in charge. I'm not in charge. So when we're talking about a full-fledged guy, we're talking about somebody who's mamish on the outside. We're talking about somebody who he has no concept of a higher power, and that is the biggest lie that could exist in reality. Okay, so now he writes that when these people who are supposed to be on the outside, when these people who just have no connection, they're hopeless. So when they learn Torah, it actually messes them up more. It really messes with their brains. They can read the Torah, and they can understand from the Torah things which are going to support their heresy. It's going to support their misunderstanding of life. And he writes that this is why you can have people that they learn Torah, and because by learning Torah it causes them to go off the derech. I know people that this is really sad, that when they were brought up religious, and they read the Tanakh in English, and it didn't sit well with them. I don't know exactly what didn't sit well with them, and because of the reading of because of their superficial understanding, their incorrect understanding of the Torah, so it brought them to say that everything's garbage. Okay, so if you're really far enough off, then you can be you're staring the truth in the face, and it's going to say back to you lies. You're going to learn mistakes from staring at the truth. Okay, so you can have people that they can have have PhDs in Talmud, PhDs in Judaism, and they're the complete opposite. Like their worldview is that they know everything there is to know about Judaism except that it's true. Right? You can be an expert in everything, like many elements of Torah. Like I've read about people that is a famous the famous Kabbalist. I wouldn't call him a Kabbalist. A Kabbalah researcher, Gershon Shalom. Gershon Shalom is a famous researcher of Kabbalah, and he wrote books on Kabbalah. And so, like he has PhDs in Kabbalah, but he doesn't believe that Kabbalah is really from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He thinks it's in his perspective, it's all just like the ideas of some thinker of the 1600s. So like it's like how can you know everything there is to know about Kabbalah except that you don't believe it's true. Right? So you could have if a person who's like deeply not connected, so you can be staring the truth in the face, and it can bring you to heresy. Okay. So where does this come from? So he says that the source of this problem, the source of this curse of being on the outside, so we can learn this from the door with the grate on top, with there's like a netting, like grate, like. So the source of this really, because from the beginning of the Torah, the source of this is really from the story of the snake with Chava. Okay, what happened to the snake with Chava? So the Chava told the snake that God told them you shouldn't eat from the tree of knowledge and you shouldn't touch it. So what did the snake do? So the snake, no, she's going the wrong way. What did the snake do? The snake pushed Chava into the tree and said, "Hey, didn't you say that God said that if you touch the tree, you're going to die? You're not dying. Just like you're not dying from touching the tree, so too you're not going to die from eating from the tree." Okay? So that's how he convinced her. That's how he convinced her that she should eat from the tree as well. Okay. So the question is that how can that she knew herself that God didn't say not to touch the tree. She knew very well that God only said not to eat the tree, and that she made up herself not to touch the tree. So how could she have made this mistake? How could she possibly made this mistake? So the Moranayim explains that this is a danger, and it's so crazy because it's so real. It's so real that whenever you're going to add on to Torah, so there's a huge danger. Whenever you're going to say that there's more to Judaism than what there is to Judaism, so it's a scary thing to say. Meaning that there is room for additions. And this is actually something that we're talking about today. That there is room for Chazal. There is room for mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, and so mitzvahs d'Rabbanan have different functions. There's one kind of mitzvah d'Rabbanan that is really supposed to safeguard. They're supposed to safeguard the mitzvah. That if it's a tendency of a person that if you do this, then you're going to come to do this, then it makes sense that they just be smart, and that's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful thing. Like my example that I gave today was like, if if somebody once hints to the fact that they don't like being called something, so then you understand that okay, so you're super careful not to call them anything except their exact name. And even if they didn't say so, that's a sign of love. It's a sign of concern. It's a sign of sensitivity. That I wanted to be so sure that I didn't upset you, so that I wanted to make it that I'm not even going to do anything close to what I know doesn't sit well with you. So that's very beautiful. And there's other things that Chazal can say that if they understand that Hashem really wants us to understand it ourselves, then, but sometimes a person, a rabbi, whatever, could get up and he could add things to the Torah mistakenly. Meaning that this is not something that I'm doing because I'm absolutely positive that this is what Hashem wants to be part of the Torah. But rather that this is the way I like things done. I'm in a position of power, and I like that my people are going to be like this, and so I'm going to make rules, and people are going to listen to me, and we're going to make our Jewish club / cult, and we're going to be the people that wear whatever, and this kind of hat, and this kind of kippah, and this kind of and there's a danger. There's danger when that if it's not exactly what Hashem wants, so then it's actually exiting the world of Kedusha. It's exiting the world of Kedusha. He calls this the Gevul HaKedusha, the boundary of Kedusha. And when you exit the boundary of Kedusha, then you're entering the world of lies. Then you're entering the world of fakeness, the world of superficiality. And this is a big danger, that whenever you're going to add, and this is why the Torah says that it's prohibited to add onto the Torah. Because the Torah is Kedusha, and if you're going to add onto that inappropriately, so then you're mixing up something holy and something profane. Right? That it's like, who's saying this? This is just what you're in the mood to say. Like that's not Torah. And so he says that's actually detrimental. It's actually detrimental. So when Chava was adding this, he has an interesting point. He says that it says that the 248 mitzvot are corresponding to the 248 limbs of a human body, and the 365 negative mitzvot are corresponding to the 365 sinews in the human body. Now, besides your body, besides your limbs, so there's also your hair. Okay, it's also your hair. So where is the hair? Where is hair symbolized in the Torah? So he says the hair is the thing that covers your limbs and protects your limbs and actually accessorizes your limbs. It complements your limbs, and that's the mitzvah d'Rabbanan. The mitzvah d'Rabbanan, when they're done properly, so they're actually meant to complement the Torah and make the Torah more beautiful. Okay? Because really, like one example of this is Shabbos. That the Ramban says a beautiful idea in Parshat Emor, that we call in Chazal, we call the rabbinical mitzvahs of Shabbos, we call them shvut. Shvut. That's the term that they use. So the Ramban is discussing, why do we use this term shvut? Shvut is from the word Shabbat. Shabbat is like the essence of Shabbos. So why when we're talking about the rabbinical things, that's when we use the word shvut. So he says a very beautiful idea. That is because, the whole essence of Shabbos, the whole vibe of Shabbos, the whole spirit of Shabbos. So if you would just follow the Torah laws, you would totally be missing the point. That if you would not be following the rabbinic prohibitions of Shabbos, so you would be able to have business. You'll be able to like just be going to work, because you would be able to, as long as you don't write, just remember everything. You would be able to play ball. You would be able to just go to the sports events. Everything that is forcing us to actually be connected to Shabbos is actually all rabbinic, right? You could actually be keeping Shabbos from the Torah perspective and be just completely not home, just completely just checked out from Shabbos, checked out from God, checked out from Judaism, and not breaking even one law. So the whole thing that gives Shabbos its taste, that gives Shabbos its spirit, it's all the rabbinic laws. Okay, so this is mamish. That's a perfect example of the hair. Okay, the hair is something that complements and beautifies the Torah. Okay, but we know the hair also is considered motarot. It's considered something that is extra. By Hasidim, so they're into, like they're not into boys having having long hair at all. Not even long hair. Long hair, like it's pretty mainstream in Orthodox communities not to have boys not to have long hair. But in Hasidic communities, like they want you to shave your hair, like have like a zero. Except for your payas, you're supposed to like not have a. Not talking about Satmar girls, but no, it's really something else. It's really like It's really like I don't know a real source for that. But I do know that by Hasidim that they're into that, like, having like Shiran. Shiran is a good Hasidic yid, and that's the way that a Hasidic bacher like you should look. So what's the idea? What's the idea? So it's because hair is motarot. Hair is something which is not supposed to be. Hair is something which is considered like extra, and because it's extra, so that's where there's the availability for the klipot. That's where you can have the negative energies stick on to the klipot. Whatever's not supposed to be there, okay? Whatever part of your body is not supposed to be there, so it's not supposed to be there. So now it's a very interesting thing that if we take this a step further, so there's a difference that even like by Hasidim, that even though the we once gave a class about this. In one of the stories of Rabbi Nachman at the end of The King and the Emperor. So there's a story about this king who was bald, and we spoke about what's the idea of being bald, okay? Because it says that the hair by a boy is the Moseres Hamayach. It's like it's the excretions of the brains. It's like the bad stuff of the brains. So that's why it's not supposed to be there. But what's interesting is that by girls it's not like that. That one of the noticeable differences between boys and girls is that boys have short hair and girls have long hair, right? And even by Hasidim, even though Hasidim tell their boys to shave their head, but they don't tell their girls to shave their head. And there's this understanding that a girl is supposed to have long hair, and that complements her. Okay, so now what's the idea behind this? So if the Morinayim is saying that hair represents the mitzvah D'Rabbanan, so because the mitzvah D'Rabbanan is the thing that complements the Torah, so the mitzvah D'Rabbanan represents the feminine expression of the Jewish people, because it's the feminine side to receive and to say that this is me, that this is I'm not, that the idea of malchus, for example, that actualization is a feminine midah, is a feminine attribute. So when we are being feminine, when the Jews are being feminine, that's when we're saying, when Hashem says, okay, what do you have to say? And that's our mitzvah D'Rabbanan. So it actually is very appropriate that the women of the world that are symbolizing this feminine attribute, which is the mitzvah D'Rabbanan, so that their hair is actually something which is supposed to be there, which is actually complementing the rest of their body, as opposed to something which is extra, which is actually not supposed to be there. Okay, so I thought that was just a little bit fascinating. So now when the what you call it, so if you're on the outside, when you add these laws, when you add these rules that are actually not supposed to be complementing, so that's actually called maseres. That's like we're talking about like something which is not supposed to be there, that it's too long, it should be cut. So then if you're going to add that to the Torah, it's actually, you're mixing up true and false. You're actually mixing up like something holy and something profane. And that's what Chava was doing when she was adding this inappropriate mitzvah, this lie that Hashem never said not to touch the tree of knowledge. When you did this, when she was adding this, she was actually messing up the Torah. And that's the source of her fall. This is the beginning of her downfall, was that she didn't keep the Torah pure. Okay, she added.
How would she have known though not to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody would have taught her. By the way doing that.
Well, I think that that Hashem tells you one thing. If you're going to add to the Torah, you better know what you're doing. You better know what you're doing. And if you're going to just be say like, I think it's cute to also say that if you don't do this, then you're not from. Like if you're not positive that that's what Hashem wants, so better keep quiet. So Chava was just like, she was just being creative. She was just she didn't really sit down and think like, I have an issue. I noticed like over the past 5 minutes, so about 100 times, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm just hugging the tree of knowledge. And as I'm hugging the tree of knowledge, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need to eat the tree of knowledge. And how do I stop myself? You know what? I'm going to stop touching. I think that's what I'm going to do. If that's what she was doing, then it would have been okay. That was not her thought process. She was just being creative. She said, Hashem, you said this, so I'll follow in your footsteps and I'll add more. Now she was like, she had no right to add to the Torah. So if it would have been coming from a pure place, then, Adam didn't think of it, she thought of it herself. If it would have been coming from a pure place, then it would have been okay. The problem was that it wasn't coming from a pure place. And that's why she should have known. She should have known that, who asked you? You just follow what Hashem says. That's beautiful if you follow what Hashem says. And so this is like I think you understand what I'm driving at. That there's many communities that they don't focus on the real Torah, and they make like the real Judaism is as a focus on what's really not Judaism at all. And they say that like really what Hashem cares about is really if you follow this extremely strict dress code and like things which really Hashem doesn't really care about in the first place, and they care less about things which are more critical, and they don't really care, like there's some communities that if you dress like them, then they'll accept you and embrace you and love you even if you don't believe in God. But if you believe in God and believe in Torah and believe in everything, it's just that you don't want to dress like them, then you're a shegitz and you're an outcast, and they'll kick you out of the house and kick you out of the community, and they'll humiliate you because of something that like, whoa, why do you think God even cares if I wear a hat? Why do you think God even cares if I wear a necklace? Like these are things that you made up, but because in your made up religion, so these are the most important things, and the things which are actually important, like believing in Torah, like doesn't matter. So that it became something else. It's not Judaism anymore. Yeah. So this is what he calls the Gevul HaKedusha, the Gevul HaKedusha, to make sure that you never step out of the Gevul HaKedusha, that in your trajectory and in your guiding light, that to make sure that the Torah stays pure, okay? Because if it doesn't stay pure, so then it's actually going to mess you up, okay? So these people. So then now getting back to our original discussion. So Rabbi Yehuda says that we're supposed to there's supposed to be a Torah for the non-Jews, but it's supposed to be covered up. It's supposed to be covered up. So and it says that they had a Bina Yasera. He says, what do you mean Bina Yasera? That they had this intuition. So the word Yasera comes from the word Motarot, which means extra, means that it's not supposed to be there. So even though these people that were not supposed to be connected to Torah, their souls weren't meant for Judaism, even though they weren't meant for Judaism, they read the Torah, so it actually caused them to go down. And this is why they were judged for the fact that now you know the truth. So now why aren't you doing it? So it's because they were actually on the outside, so that they were not meant to connect. Okay, so this is what ultimately the purpose of having this Torah on the outside is to show that this is not meant for everybody. Okay, that really the secrets of the universe are actually not meant for everybody, and there's people that are connected and the people that are not connected, and not everybody is capable of actually connecting.
You said earlier that they're responsible if they don't learn it.
So in the source, in the place where the Gemara says that, it's actually talking about the 7 achelas. Okay, so I would say that they are expected to learn about basic morality, but spirituality they're not. And they're like the essence of Torah is talking about real spirituality. And so, but this point is that this is like at the border of Israel, like right before the Jordan River. So we're supposed to have a Torah, but it's supposed to be a Torah which is covered up. And the purpose of the Torah which is covered up is to say that that this is actually not for everybody. Okay, and the only time that the Torah is going to be good for you is only if you have something inside of you which is actually going to connect you. Okay, so this is I think it's really cool that to understand that the people that are connected to Torah, it's because they have something inside of them that is connected to Torah, and if you don't have it on the inside, so then it's just not going to click. And there's always going to be those haters. There's always going to be those people that think we're crazy, and we don't have to try to explain ourselves to everybody. And there are people that are going to read the same text as us and really hear the same classes as us, and they're going to come out just like making fun of it, and they're going to think that like, wow, you really thought that was inspiring? I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And it's because they're just on the outside. Okay, it's just something missing in their souls. Now, he's talking about non-Jews. He's talking about non-Jews, and that I would like to believe that every Jew is on the inside. Every Jew has a place inside their soul that there's some way to crack the code that can turn them on. But I do think that this is somewhat of an understanding that some people, just because of their circumstances, because of their upbringing, because of their reality, so they can't be expected to connect. And like you can like give them the truth and inspire them from today till tomorrow, and they're just not in the right place to hear it. Not because they don't have what it takes, because they do have what it takes. It's in such a deep hibernation that it's just like they aren't ready yet, and we have to wait for the right time. And like that's why and not everybody in this world is, not every Jew is you can't just tell them the right thing and inspire them, and like it's just not going to work. And nobody should feel responsible to bring them, because really some people are just not on the right page, they're not on the right wavelength at this moment, and that's okay. And like Hashem has a path for them, and Hashem has a mission for them, and really for us it's important to understand that the number one that the connection to Torah is dependent on having a deep soul connection. And the reason why things inspire us is because we were meant for it, because we have this thing inside of us which is yearning for spirituality, which is yearning for everything that the Torah is giving to us. And number two, that's precisely why we need to keep it clean and keep it pure. And when we start mixing the real stuff with the fake stuff, so then that can really mess us up. That can really get us on the outside. That you can have people that their view of Judaism, their story of Judaism, is actually something else entirely, because they've added on things in the wrong way, and that's mamish what the snake was doing to make the unimportant things the important things, and to make the important things the unimportant things. So this is the story. This is the story of connection. So bless us all that we should be able to really find the authentic Judaism, and not get mixed up, and not let anybody else mix us up, and to follow our hearts, and to follow this deep soul connection that we have. That the only thing that's going to satisfy our thirst is really only the real thing. Zat Hashem. Right, l'chaim.